Wow, that was weird. Alright, so today we are going to be making pie crust. The batch that I will be making can usually make about 3 pies, tops and bottoms, or a bunch of smaller ones and a large one, whatever works. This pie crust recipe is great. You can also freeze the dough if you don't use it all in one batch. You will need 5.5 cups of flour, 1 frozen pound of lard, baking powder, teaspoon of salt, ice water, which I have in the fridge, 1 egg, and some vinegar. So first we're going to get our dry ingredients together. I don't know how. I started filming before I even knew what was going on. So that's okay though. This has got to rest anyway for a couple minutes. Boom. Back to what we were doing. So we are going to do 1 teaspoon of baking powder, 1 teaspoon of salt, those items are dealt with. We're now going to mix our dry ingredients. So, from my experience, failures and successes, I now know that it is very important that you do not overmix your dough. So that's why this is normally done in a 2-day process. So I'm making this dough, or starting it tonight, and then I will make the pies probably tomorrow. It will sit overnight. So next step, we are going to cut our frozen lard up into tiny little squares. And you want it to be cold because it'll actually make your dough more flaky and crispy and not really crumbly. If you need to put it back into the freezer or fridge to cool it down again, I would recommend it. It does make a huge difference. My bad. If you do like my content, please subscribe and leave a comment. It is greatly appreciated. Also, I have a microphone on the way. So for those of you that have been mentioning that I'm too quiet during my videos, well, guess what? There's a mic on the way. So that will soon change. So, oops. That's okay, I'll just do it this way. It's really hot in here, so this is probably not the best time to make this dough, but I'm making pies. Not today, but so just for reference, tiny little cubes, okay? You can also use butter if you do not have lard. Lard is actually just pig fat, rendered. So you can always make your own if you want, or use butter. If you use butter, it will obviously have a little bit of a different taste. Almost done here. Oh, that's a cat hair. Alright, so, oops. Yeah, like it's so warm in here. That's okay though. It'll work. We'll make sure it works. Alright, boom. So our lard is now chopped up into little tiny pieces. We're going to add it to our dry mix. Okay. Fork. I wouldn't recommend using your hands for pie crust. I do normally with other doughs, or I would use the mixer. But to get a good pie crust, you don't want it to be too warm and melted together. So we're going to slightly kind of mash it together by pushing down, kind of breaking up the little lard squares into the dry mixture. My dinner's ready though, I'm pretty excited. Made myself steak and some rice. It's okay. I didn't time my dinner quite right. That's okay. We'll get this done. There's also a very specific tool, like a pastry cutter, if you know what I mean. It's like, has a bunch of little wire bends. You push down it, that could be used, that would be beneficial. I don't have one out right now, so I will have to deal with it another day. Okay. Alright, I'm going to continue doing this for just a little bit more. Hold that thought. Alright, so the key to a successful and good pie crust is not overworking it. I struggle with this, but I've learned this the hard way. Don't make it a dough. I know it doesn't make sense to me either. I have to tell myself as I make it, don't make it into the dough now. We're literally just kind of prepping it. Gonna leave it in what I would say an unfinished mess so that it can do the work itself. Okay, so like pie crust will make itself. You just pretty much have to do the little odds and ends. So like there's still quite a few little tiny pieces, but you don't want to overwork this, and that goes through the whole process. So next step, we're gonna add our tablespoon of vinegar. Where are you? Tablespoon of white vinegar to a separate little bowl. Done. There we go. Our egg. There's still poop on it. Here, where is it? Hee hee hee. Farm egg. Okay. 1 egg. Mix these together. Very well. Oh, we can hear you. No, that's okay. Best part about homemade stuff, you make a mess. Alright, add it. You also want your ice water. You want about a cup. A little bit right now. Okay, I'm going to just very slowly kind of work it together. Okay, starting to get all sticky together, if you know what I mean. Sticky together, that's not even a word. That's okay. Yeah. A little bit more. Starting to slowly, little pieces are starting to form to create a dough. A tiny bit more water. And now you're going to want to have some very cold water or ice water prep for tomorrow, because you may need to add just a tiny bit more just to make it into a dough. I over poured, so I'm trying to make sure that I know where I'm at for my 1 cup of ice water. Okay. Oops. It's okay. Alright, so it's slowly starting to form into dough, but it's very clumpy, if you can see what's going on here. Okay. I can't really tip it, it'll fall out. I'm not gonna lie. That will happen. Alright, so like, I don't like showing people this because, like, to me this is not done and it's embarrassing to look at. But this is how I was taught. I was grateful enough to be given this recipe by Pauline. She's a lovely lady who's taught me lots. But the key to a good pie crust is not overworking it. And my brain struggles with that. So you can struggle with me now. Again, if you like my content, please subscribe. Like, interact, that kind of thing. So, this part drives me nuts. Get some saran wrap. You're going to lay it out. Let's get out some more knife or scissors. I just like this part a lot, but that's how I get really good pie crust. So, just continue to do it that way. Okay, so 1 across. Like vertically, oh sorry, and we're going to do 1 horizontally because I'll show you in a second here. Not a fan of cling wrap either, but it does have its purposes. I don't use it regularly, but for certain things like doughs, I will use it because it's just awesome. Or rising bread, really helps rise bread. Alright, so we made ourselves a nice little, looks like the Red Cross symbol. You're going to take our crumbly dough and pour it onto our saran wrap. This drives me nuts. My perfectionism or OCD or whatever you people call things nowadays. This is not done to me. Like, I would be like, oh, I have to make it into dough. No, because then you would overwork it. So the key to a good pie crust is not overworking it. It will make itself. Like, look at this crumbly mess. Trust the process. Alright. So, now we're going to take our giant little thing here, and we're going to pretty much try and make it into a dough formation. Oh, not dough. Ball formation. I'm just going to let it sit. We're going to let this thing sit overnight, and it will make itself, whoopsie daisy, into its own beautiful pie crust. Trust the process. So, oops. Obviously, it's a pain in the bum to do sometimes, but well worth it. If you've made a lot of things from scratch, you will understand this kind of pain and suffering. Your house is a mess, and there's things lying out half done. Not half done, but making itself. Because you gotta trust processes like kefir or things of that nature. Just let it sit and do its thing. So, all right, perfect. All right, so this here is pretty much just crumbly mess. Like, it's not a dough, but we're gonna let it sit overnight, and tomorrow it will be a perfect dough that we'll just add a little bit more ice water to, and some little bit more ice water. Roll it out. I probably won't make like all three or four pies tomorrow, so I'll probably freeze a bunch of this. If you have to use more saran wrap, you can. So, all right, wow. That's our pie crust. I will put the measurements and things in the description, and leave a comment. And thank you for watching and your support. It's all very greatly appreciated. I'm gonna grab one more piece of saran, and she will be ready to go. Have a great evening.